Shadi Kaddoura, thank you so much for joining us today. You're the lead author of Phocuswright's latest travel market report for the Middle East, which came out a week or two ago. So congratulations on getting that report finalised and published for us. And it's also Arabian travel market this week, so we thought it'd be a useful time to kind of catch up and get a sense of what's been going on in that particular region. So again, thank you so much for joining us, Shadi. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Kevin.
You're very welcome. So first of all, just give us a bit of an overview as to what's been measured in the report, how long it goes back, and the period of time, and the countries and things like that.
Well, yeah, it's a report that it's a market sizing exercise for online for gross bookings across different travel segments in the Middle East. The countries we cover are the GCC, 6 countries: Levant, Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, and Egypt. So these are totally 9 countries that we cover in the Middle East. We've been doing this exercise since 2012. I think the first report was published on an annual basis.
Okay, so it's an annual basis, but this has been a year like no other, really, as everybody knows. So tell us then, Shadi, I mean, what have been your key findings from the reports this year?
Well, obviously, 2020 was a devastating year for the travel industry globally, and the Middle East is no exception. The Middle East travel bookings dropped by 64% in gross bookings in 2020. However, the key travel markets in the region have started to show signs of recovery starting from June, July last year, when the restrictions were a little bit eased or lifted. And they are projected to gradually return to pre-pandemic levels over the next few years.
Yeah. 64%, that's the drop in bookings. That doesn't perhaps seem as many as perhaps some other regions of the world. Would that be accurate?
That's correct, yes. According to IATA as well, confirms that the recovery here, well, the decline wasn't as bad as initially forecasted for the region in the beginning of the pandemic. You know, the Middle East, or some countries in the Middle East, are hubs for international travel, like the UAE and Qatar. So with the stoppage of all travel across the world, it was forecasted for the region to be hit harder, or expected to be hit harder. But some markets used actually the downtime to focus on domestic travel, to focus on health and safety. Some suppliers, or many suppliers of whom we spoke with, told us that they used the downtime to recalibrate their processes and focus on specific segments, including the domestic traveler, and that actually lifted the market and reduced the decline in gross bookings overall.
So they've been using their time off, as it were, very wisely, I think.
Oh yeah, which worked really well so far.
Okay, so which countries within those that you've been scrutinising are perhaps progressing faster in terms of their recovery?
Well, the UAE absolutely is one of the key markets in the Middle East. 35% of the hotel inventory of the markets of the whole market sit in the Middle East, and the UAE represents 45% in terms of gross bookings of the total market. So it's obviously a huge travel destination. High technology, young travelers, and technologically savvy travelers. So online bookings has been going very well in the UAE, and the market is very well equipped to bounce back quickly. Similarly, to a less degree, or to a smaller scale, Qatar as well is very strong. Very strong airline. It is a hub. Saudi, on the other hand, is also investing a lot in the travel business, improving local attractions and destinations within the Saudi Arabia. Traditionally, the Saudi was considered to be a hub for religious tourism.
Yeah.
But now they are opening up their market, the country, and developing, all the Red Sea projects across the kingdom. 30 million population are a big number, and they helped really lift up the travel market in Saudi.
Yeah. Would it be fair to say that for a destination like Dubai, it had to get this period absolutely right because it is so pivotal as a hub between the East and the West, between North and South increasingly, and just as a tourist destination in its own right? It had to get this absolutely right.
Absolutely, and they had all the tools to do it. The government was flexible and very adaptive in applying measures. We went into a lockdown when we had to. The country was open for domestic travel as soon as it was feasible and possible. Open the borders to international travel with select corridors and bilateral agreements. So they played it very smart, correct.
And we're hearing about, certainly in North America and to a lesser extent in Europe, about issues around reopening hotels and staff shortages and things like that. Is that something that's reflected in somewhere like Dubai, which has a huge number of hotels? Have they had those similar issues?
Yes, well, initially during lockdown, the whole country was closed under lockdown. No business, no operation whatsoever. And then some regulation came in to allow to restrict capacity in hotels and restaurants and F&B outlets to 50%, to 60%, 50%. So gradually it was easing up, and now there are no restrictions. However, only in public areas. Yeah. So hotels are working on almost full capacity in terms of inventory.
Yeah. Okay. And what's your sense, Shadi, of the kind of the future prospects for the online travel sector in the Middle East? I mean, this market report is specifically about this particular period, but what's your sense of the projections of market share for online and digital bookings?
Well, 2020 and 2021 were not too bad in terms of online penetration. Actually, there was a shift to online shopping and online purchasing and booking for travel products. It actually jumped from 36% in 2019 to 41% in 2020, and it will continue. The online penetration will continue to grow. We forecast by the end of 2024 that half of all bookings take place on online channels.
Yeah, and what does that mean, therefore, for travel businesses that are traditionally offline? Are they rushing towards digitalizing their own services, or are they going to be victims of the powerful online players that are already establishing a presence in the region?
Well, it has two folds. Obviously, offline businesses will suffer, have been suffering in the past few years. Many of them are trying to shift to introduce online channels for their travel bookings. I'm talking about mainly car rental companies, travel agencies that are still using offline the traditional way. But most of the travel suppliers in the Middle East already have very strong online presence. It obviously requires a lot of investment and optimization, and some companies do not have the financial means to invest in online, and for that there are solutions like tech companies and the global OTAs that are introducing solutions in the market. So everything is being put in an effort to shift the market and move it to the online sphere.
And you talked about the kind of the Western online giants. What do they have to? I know we're getting off the topic a little bit, but I'm interested. I mean, what do they have to do as organisations in order to really give the Middle East the focus that they want to? Is there anything specific that they need to consider?
Well, online giants like Booking and Expedia have been present in this market for a very long time, and some they really work very well for travel suppliers who are small, independent. I'm not talking about the Hiltons and the Marriotts and the IHGs. Talking about small chains and local chains and small independent hotels, for example, and car rental companies. They get a lot of help from the likes of Booking. Some independent hotels reported to us over 85 to 90% of their bookings happen on an OTA. So they don't these small hotels, and there are many of them, especially in Saudi Arabia, in Egypt, in Lebanon, Jordan. These hotels do not really need to invest in a strong online booking system and a strong presence on the internet, because being associated with the likes of Booking and Expedia, and there are also the local regional OTAs like Sira Group, Tajawal, Musafir, Rihlat, all these operators. They have very strong penetration in the market.
Okay, and last of all, Shadi, if we can, I mean, Dubai, I would imagine, is a big hub for business travel as well. I mean, what is the sense there in the region about business travel's recovery efforts compared to those of leisure?
Well, our report actually measures leisure particularly and unmanaged business bookings. So we don't really look into the corporate business bookings, but from our readings and from the feedback we get from the market, it is the hardest hit segment actually in terms of the decline in bookings, and nobody can see for now that when it is coming back, or if ever going to come back. I mean, Zoom and all of these platforms have made it easier for executives to conduct meetings across the globe and instantly without the need to travel. So this has been proven. However, we're hearing now that it is going to come back, especially events and conferences. ATM is now happening in Dubai, and we're hearing, I haven't been yet, although it's just next door, but we're hearing that there is a lot of people who have attended and coming for the event. Expo 2021 is happening this year, by October, I think, and this is a big six months long conference and exhibition in Dubai. It is going to attract a lot of business travelers, of course.
Yeah. Okay. Shadi Kaddoura, the author of the Travel Market Report at Phocuswright for the Middle East this year. Thank you so much for joining us on Phocuswright. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Thank you. Appreciate it.